The distress beacon cut through the void like a scream. Queen Zara's crystalline fingers froze over the navigation console as the signal registered on her flagship's sensors, weak, desperate, and broadcasting from the forbidden sector where no ship should survive. "Your Majesty," Commander Thex's voice carried urgency beneath its measured tone. "The signal originates from Kepler, 442c. The planet was sterilized 3 cycles ago after the plague outbreak." Zara's 4 eyes narrowed as she studied the readout. The beacon wasn't Veltar technology. The transmission patterns were crude, primitive, human. Her heart's quickened. No human vessel had authorization to enter this sector, yet someone was alive down there calling for help. "Prep the shuttle," she commanded, rising from her throne. Her ceremonial armor caught the bridge's blue lighting, casting sharp shadows across her angular features. "I'll investigate personally, my queen. Protocol dictates that I protect all sentient life in my territory." Zara's voice carried the weight of absolute authority. Even human life. The descent through Kepler 442's atmosphere revealed a world transformed by violence. Crystallized forests stretched toward blood-red skies, their branches twisted into impossible geometries by radiation storms. This wasn't the green world her maps remembered. This was a graveyard wrapped in toxic beauty. Zara's shuttle touched down near the beacon's source, its landing thrusters disturbing clouds of luminescent dust. Through the viewports, she spotted movement, a figure emerging from what looked like a crashed escape pod, partially buried in the planet's strange, glittering sand. The human woman stumbled toward them, one hand pressed against her lower back, the other shielding her eyes from the shuttle's lights. Even at this distance, Zara could see something was wrong with her silhouette. The woman moved with the careful gait of someone carrying precious cargo. Zara activated the external speakers. "Identify yourself, human." The woman stopped, swaying slightly. When she looked up, her face was streaked with tears and exhaustion. "Dr. Sarah Chen, Research Vessel Meridian. Please, I need medical assistance." "You're in violation of Veltar territorial law," Zara replied, though her tone lacked its usual edge. Something about the human's posture triggered an unfamiliar, protective instinct. "This sector was quarantined." "I know," Sarah's voice cracked. "My ship was attacked. I've been here for weeks. Please, it's not just me." Zara's primary heart skipped. She opened the shuttle bay and descended the ramp, her royal guard flanking her with weapons ready but not raised. Up close, the human looked even more fragile, pale skin burned by the planet's harsh radiation, clothes torn and patched with salvaged materials. But it was the unmistakable curve of Sarah's abdomen that made Zara's breath catch. "You're with child," Zara stated, not asking. Sarah nodded, fresh tears cutting tracks through the dust on her cheeks. 7 months along. "I've done everything I can to keep us both alive, but the radiation levels are increasing. The escape pod's shielding is failing." Zara approached slowly, studying the human with newfound fascination. Pregnancy was sacred among her people, a rare gift that united all Velfar regardless of their political differences. But this was different. This human carried life in a place where life itself had been extinguished. "The child?" Zara asked carefully. "Is the father human?" Sarah hesitated, her hand moving protectively over her swollen belly. "No. He was Veltar. A scientist on our joint research mission." The admission hit Zara like a plasma blast. Hybrid pregnancies were theoretical impossibilities. The biological differences between humans and Veltar should have made conception impossible. Yet here stood living proof that their species could create something new together. "What's your child's name?" Zara found herself asking. "Kira." Sarah's voice softened with love and fear. "We chose it together before everything went wrong." Thunder rolled across the poisoned sky as another radiation storm approached. The shuttle's sensors screamed warnings about contamination levels, but Zara ignored them. She was witnessing something unprecedented, something that could change the relationship between their species forever. "Board my shuttle," she commanded. "Both of you." Sarah nearly collapsed with relief. "Thank you. Thank you so much." As they helped Sarah into the shuttle, Zara's mind raced with implications. A human Veltar hybrid would be seen as an abomination by the hardliners in her court, a violation of the natural order, but it would also be proof that their species weren't as different as they'd believed. The shuttle lifted off as the first wave of radiation struck the planet's surface below. Through the viewports, Zara watched the escape pod dissolve into glittering particles, erased by the same force that had consumed this world. She turned to study Sarah, who was finally allowing herself to rest against the shuttle's medical bay. The human's courage impressed her. Surviving alone on a hostile world while protecting unborn life required strength that transcended species barriers. Dr. Chen, Zara said quietly. Tell me about Kira's father. Sarah's eyes opened, filled with love and loss. His name was Velshan. He believed our species could build something beautiful together. Zara felt her certainty shift, like tectonic plates. Whatever happened next would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what was possible between humans and Veltar. The journey to her flagship would give her time to decide whether Kira represented hope or catastrophe. The medical bay aboard Queen Zara's flagship hummed with activity as Dr. Nexus ran comprehensive scans on Sarah and her unborn child. The Veltar physician's tentacles moved with practiced efficiency over the holographic displays, but Zara could see the confusion in his compound eyes. The readings are unprecedented, Your Majesty, Dr. Science, Nexus reported, his voice tight with scientific fascination and concern. The fetal development patterns show characteristics of both species, but integrated in ways our genetic models predicted would be impossible. Despite her exhaustion, her eyes remained alert, protective. Is Kira healthy? Remarkably so. Dr. Nexus confirmed, but there are implications we don't fully understand. The child appears to be developing dual neural pathways, one similar to human brain structure, another that mirrors Veltar consciousness matrices. Zara stepped closer to the display showing the baby's current development. The tiny form displayed features that were unmistakably hybrid, elongated limbs like Veltar, but with human proportions, skin that seemed to shimmer with both species' characteristics. What does that mean for her future? Sarah asked, though her tone suggested she feared the answer. We don't know, Zara answered honestly. No hybrid has ever survived a term. Your daughter may possess abilities neither of our species fully understand. The medical bay doors hissed open as Commander Thex entered, his expression grim. Your Majesty, we've received priority communications from both the Veltar High Council and the Human Colonial Authority. Word of Dr. Chen's rescue has already reached both governments. Sarah sat up straighter on the bio-bed. How is that possible? We've been in space for less than 4 hours. Intelligence networks move faster than starships, Zara replied darkly. She'd expected this. News of a human Veltar hybrid would spread through diplomatic channels like wildfire. What are their demands, Commander? Thex's mandibles clicked nervously. The High Council orders immediate termination of the pregnancy. They consider it a contamination of Veltar genetic purity. The Human Authority demands Dr. Chen's immediate repatriation, similar medical intervention. The words hung in the air like poison gas. Sarah's face went white, her hands moving protectively over her belly. They want to kill my baby. Both governments view Kira as a threat to the existing order, Zara said, her voice carrying dangerous undertones. They fear what she represents. Dr. Nexus cleared his throat diplomatically. Your Majesty, if I may, the child's unique neural development suggests she might possess unprecedented cognitive abilities, the potential for advanced problem-solving, perhaps even new forms of consciousness that bridge our species' different ways of thinking. Or she could be unstable, unpredictable, Thex countered. A being that belongs to neither species might threaten both. Sarah struggled to sit up fully, her eyes blazing with maternal fury. Kira isn't a threat. She's a baby. My baby. And I won't let anyone hurt her. Zara found herself oddly moved by the human's fierce protectiveness. Among Veltar, eggs were protected by the entire community, but this woman faced the combined opposition of 2 galactic governments alone. Dr. Chen, Zara said carefully, what did Velshan believe about your child's potential? Sarah's expression softened at the mention of Kira's father. He said she would be a bridge between worlds, that maybe our species were meant to find common ground through her. Her voice cracked slightly. He died defending our research station when the hardliners attacked. He never got to see her first ultrasound. The revelation struck Zara like a physical blow. Hardliners attacked your research station? Veltar extremists who opposed the joint research project? They sabotaged our ship, forced us to crash land on Kepler? 442C. Velshan held them off long enough for me to reach the escape pod, but Sarah's voice trailed off into grief. Thex stepped forward, his expression troubled. Your Majesty, if extremist factions are already willing to kill to prevent human Veltar cooperation, the child's existence could spark open conflict. Zara stared at the medical displays showing Kira's steady heartbeat, her tiny fingers already showing the delicate joint structure of Veltar hands but with human dexterity. This child represented either the future of interspecies relations or its destruction. Both governments are mobilizing fleets, Thex continued. The humans are sending 3 battle cruisers under Admiral Hayes. The High Council is dispatching the Purification Fleet under Admiral HFY. They're treating this as a potential war scenario. Sarah looked between them with growing alarm. War? Over one unborn child? Over what that child represents, Zara corrected. The end of species segregation, the beginning of something new that threatens established power structures on both sides. Dr. Nexus approached cautiously. Your Majesty, Doctor, Chen's pregnancy has approximately 6 weeks remaining. The child's unique development means we cannot predict her exact needs during birth. She'll require specialized care that neither species has experience providing. The weight of decision pressed down on Zara's shoulders. She could comply with the demands of both governments, allowing the termination that would preserve the status quo and avoid interspecies war. Or she could protect this human woman and her unprecedented child, potentially triggering a conflict that could destroy millions of lives. But as she watched Sarah's hand move in small, soothing circles over her belly, Zara realized the choice had already been made in her hearts. Commander Thex, she said quietly, set course for the neutral zone. Maximum stealth configuration. Your Majesty, if both governments want to treat this as a war scenario, Zara replied, her voice carrying the steel of absolute resolve, then we'll give them a war to remember. The journey to the neutral zone took 18 hours through hyperspace corridors that hadn't seen traffic in decades. Zara had chosen their destination carefully. Sanctuary Station, an ancient trading post built into a massive asteroid, nominally independent but practically lawless. If they were going to defy 2 governments simultaneously, they needed allies who didn't answer to either. Sarah had spent most of the journey in the medical bay where Dr. Nexus monitored both her condition and Kira's remarkable development. The child was growing faster than either species' normal gestation patterns, as if eager to enter a universe that might not welcome her existence. Your Majesty, Sarah said as Zara entered the medical bay for her hourly check. I need to know. Why are you risking everything for us? Zara studied the human woman, noting the strength that radiated from her despite her physical exhaustion. Among my people, we believe that some children are born to change the galaxy. They arrive at moments when the universe needs something new. She gestured toward the medical displays, showing Kira's active brain patterns. Your daughter's neural development suggests she's already processing information in ways neither of our species can fully comprehend. But you're risking civil war, Sarah pressed. Your own people will call you a traitor. Perhaps, Zara's 4 eyes reflected the soft medical lighting. But I've seen what fear and hatred accomplish. Kepler 442c was a thriving world until extremists on both sides decided that cooperation was contamination. They turned a garden into a graveyard. The ship's communication array chimed with an incoming priority message. Commander Thex's voice echoed through the medical bay. Your Majesty, Admiral Hayes is demanding immediate surrender. Admiral HFY is threatening to board us by force. Both fleets are converging on our position. Zara activated the communication console, bringing up a tactical display that showed their dire situation. 6 human battlecruisers approached from the galactic north, their weapons powered and shields raised. From the south, 4 Veltar dreadnoughts moved in perfect formation, their crystal cannons charging with deadly light. Between them, Zara's single flagship looked impossibly small and vulnerable. This is Admiral Hayes of the Human Colonial Authority, a gruff voice crackled over the speakers. Queen Zara, you are harboring stolen human property and violating interspecies reproductive protocols. Surrender Dr. Chen immediately or face the consequences. Before Zara could respond, another transmission cut through. This is Admiral HFY of the Purification Fleet. Your Majesty, you have been contaminated by proximity to the abomination. Submit to cleansing protocols or be destroyed as a threat to Veltar genetic purity. Sarah's face had gone pale, but her voice remained steady. They're talking about Kira like she's a weapon or a disease. To them, she's both, Zara replied, studying the tactical display. The fleets would be within firing range in minutes, and her single ship stood no chance against their combined firepower. Dr. Nexus approached with urgent readings. Your Majesty, the stress is affecting both mother and child. Dr. Chen's blood pressure is dangerously elevated, and the baby's heart rate is becoming irregular. Zara felt time compressing around them like a collapsing star. Every decision now would ripple through history, determining whether Kira lived to become the bridge her father had envisioned or died as a casualty of interspecies hatred. "Commander Thex," she called over the intercom, "open a channel to both fleets simultaneously." "Yes, Your Majesty." The tactical display shifted to show the faces of both admirals. Hayes with his scarred human features set in determined hostility, Kexvar with his crystalline Veltar eyes burning with righteous fury. "Admirals," Zara began, her voice carrying the weight of royal authority, "you're both here to destroy an unborn child who represents the natural evolution of our species' relationship." "That thing is an abomination," Admiral Kexvar hissed. "It violates the natural order." "We won't allow our species to be contaminated." Zara stepped closer to the communication array, her four eyes reflecting the light of distant stars through the viewports. "What you're both afraid of isn't contamination, it's change. You've built your power on keeping our species separate, feeding on fear and suspicion." On the medical display behind her, Kira's heartbeat pulsed steadily, a rhythm that seemed to counter the growing tension in space around them. "But this child," Zara gestured toward Sarah, "represents something neither of your governments wants to admit as possible. That we're not as different as you've taught us to believe." The communication channel crackled with interference as both fleets powered their weapons to full charge. In minutes, this sector of space would become a battlefield, with Sarah and Kira caught in the crossfire. But as Zara prepared to make her final stand, she noticed something unexpected on the long-range sensors. More ships were approaching, dozens of them, from multiple species and independent colonies throughout the neutral zone. Sanctuary Station's ancient defense grid was coming online. Zara smiled grimly. Perhaps they wouldn't face this battle alone after all. The approaching ships resolved on the tactical display like stars emerging from darkness. 43 vessels of various sizes and origins, their transponder signals revealing a coalition Zara hadn't dared hope for. Traders, explorers, refugees, and independent colonies throughout the neutral zone were converging on their position. "Unknown vessels, identify yourselves," Admiral Hayes demanded over the open channel. "This is a military operation. Disperse immediately." The response came from Captain Yolanda Vasquez of the merchant vessel Iron Dreams. "This is the Neutral Zone Coalition. We're here to witness whether two governments start a war over a baby." Admiral Kexvar's crystalline features twisted with fury. "You dare interfere with Veltar internal affairs?" "Ain't internal when you're in neutral space threatening civilians," Captain Vasquez shot back. Her weathered human face filled the communication screen, flanked by crew members of 6 different species. "We've all heard the transmissions. You want to kill a pregnant woman and her child because they don't fit your political agenda." Zara felt a surge of hope as more coalition captains joined the channel. Captain Rexthal of the Andorian research vessel Synthesis spoke next. "The scientific community has been monitoring the quantum signatures from this child's neural development. What we're seeing could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness itself." "This is Dr. Marina Holtzman from the Xenobiology Research Station, New Geneva," another voice added. "I've spent 20 years studying interspecies genetics. What's happening here isn't contamination, it's evolution." Sarah watched the tactical display with wonder as more ships took defensive positions around Zara's flagship. "I don't understand. Why would strangers risk their lives for us?" "Because," Zara said quietly, studying the coalition's formation, "they've seen what happens when fear conquers curiosity. Many of these ships carry refugees from worlds where extremists destroyed everything in the name of genetic or cultural purity." On the medical monitors, Kira's brain activity had intensified, the neural pathways firing in patterns that Dr. Nexus couldn't fully interpret. "Your Majesty," he reported with awe, "the child's consciousness appears to be responding to the emotional resonance around her." It's as if she can sense the conflict. Admiral Hayes cut through the growing chatter. "Coalition vessels, you have 60 seconds to withdraw or be treated as hostile. The Human Colonial Authority will not negotiate over stolen property." Admiral Kexavar's response was equally hostile. "Purification fleet, charge all weapons. We will cleanse this contamination and any who protect it." The space around them began to glow with the energy signatures of weapon systems powering up across multiple fleets. Zara realized there were moments from a battle that could shatter the fragile peace between dozens of species. But then Sarah spoke, her voice carrying clearly through the communication array. "Stop." Every eye turned to her as she struggled to sit up fully on the medical bed, one hand pressed protectively over her belly. "All of you just stop. Listen to yourselves. You're ready to kill thousands of people over one baby who hasn't even been born yet." Admiral Hayes leaned forward on his screen. "Dr. Chen, you don't understand the implications. I understand perfectly, Sarah interrupted, her voice growing stronger. I understand that my daughter represents something you're afraid of. The possibility that your artificial barriers between species are exactly that. Artificial. She looked directly into the communication array, addressing both admirals. Velshan died believing that Kira could help bridge the gap between our peoples. Not through conquest or assimilation, but through understanding. Through showing that we're capable of creating something beautiful together, instead of just destroying what we don't understand. Kira kicked against Sarah's ribs, a movement visible on the medical displays that somehow carried more emotional weight than any words. This child isn't a weapon or a contamination, Sarah continued. She's a daughter. My daughter. And I'll spend every breath in my body protecting her right to exist in a galaxy that might finally be ready for something new. The communication channels fell silent for a long moment, broken only by the hum of charging weapons and the steady rhythm of Kira's heartbeat on the medical monitors. Finally, Captain Vasquez spoke. Coalition fleet, maintain defensive positions. Nobody fires unless fired upon. Admiral Kexvar's response was swift and deadly. Purification fleet, target the flagship, eliminate the contamination. Belay that order, came an unexpected voice. Admiral Sector, Kexvar's second-in-command, appeared on a separate channel. Admiral Kexvar, you're violating the Neutral Zone Treaty. Attacking civilian vessels in neutral space is an act of war against the Coalition. You dare question my authority? Kexvar snarled. I question orders that would make us murderers of pregnant women, Admiral Sector replied calmly. Half the purification fleet stands with me.
We will not fire on civilians.
The tactical display suddenly showed chaos within the Veltar formation as ships began changing positions, some moving away from Kexvar's flagship while others maintained attack formations. Admiral Hayes watched this development with calculating eyes. Dr. Chen, he said finally, if we guarantee safe passage to human space, will you submit to medical evaluation by our specialists? Not if that evaluation includes harming my daughter, Sarah replied firmly. The standoff stretched taut as a wire, with dozens of ships holding their fire while two admirals struggled to maintain control of their fracturing fleets. Then Kira kicked again, harder this time, and Sarah gasped in sudden pain. The child is coming, Dr. Nexus announced with alarm. Labor has begun ahead of schedule. The moment that would define the galaxy's future was no longer theoretical. It was happening now, in the middle of a potential battlefield, as the first hybrid child prepared to enter a universe divided over her very existence. The medical bay erupted into controlled chaos as Kira decided to announce her arrival 6 weeks early. Nexus's tentacles moved frantically over the biobed controls while emergency medical protocols activated throughout the ship. Contractions are intensifying rapidly, Dr. Nexus reported, his compound eyes wide with concern. This birth pattern doesn't match either species' normal delivery process. The child appears to be developing breathing adaptations for both atmospheric types simultaneously. Sarah gripped the sides of the biobed as another contraction hit, her face pale but determined. Through the viewport, the opposing fleets maintained their threatening positions while coalition ships formed protective barriers around them. Your Majesty, Commander Thex's voice carried urgency through the intercom. Both admirals are demanding immediate boarding rights. They want to be present for the birth. Absolutely not, Zara replied sharply, moving closer to Sarah's bedside. This child deserves to enter the universe without weapons pointed at her. Admiral Hayes' voice crackled through the communication array. Dr. Chen, our medical team is standing by. Let us help. Our geneticists can ensure proper development, Admiral Kexvar added, though his tone suggested his idea of proper development might differ significantly from everyone else's. Sarah looked up at Zara through pain-glazed eyes. I don't want either of them here. If something goes wrong, if they see Kira as defective or dangerous, they might... Nothing will happen to your daughter, Zara promised, surprising herself with the fierce protectiveness in her voice. I give you my word as Queen of the Veltar. Dr. Nexus worked frantically to adapt the medical equipment for a birth unlike anything in recorded medical history. The child's vital signs are stable, but her neural activity is off the charts. It's as if she's aware of everything happening around her. On the tactical display, Captain Vasquez maintained the Coalition's defensive formation while more ships continued arriving, a massive show of solidarity from the galaxy's independent communities. Queen Zara! Came another voice over the communication array. This time it belonged to Dr. Brad, Elena Rodriguez, the director of the Interspecies Medical Research Institute. We're monitoring your medical readings from our research vessel. This birth could provide unprecedented data about hybrid development. My daughter isn't a research specimen, Sarah gasped between contractions. Of course not, Dr. Rodriguez replied gently. But understanding her development could help other mixed couples in the future. You're not alone in this. There are others who've fallen in love across species lines. The revelation struck both fleets like a shockwave. Admiral Hayes leaned forward on his screen. Others? How many others? Hundreds, Rodriguez confirmed. Most keep their relationships secret due to social prejudice and government policies. Dr. Chen and Velshon were simply the first to successfully conceive. Admiral Kexvar's fury reached new heights. You're describing widespread contamination of genetic purity. We're describing love, Captain Vasquez shot back. Something your government clearly doesn't understand, Sarah cried out as another intense contraction gripped her. Dr. Nexus adjusted the medical sensors, his scientific fascination warring with medical concern. The child's cellular structure is adapting in real time, he announced with awe. Her lungs are developing dual filtration systems. Her nervous system is integrating both species' pain response mechanisms. It's as if she's designing herself to survive in either environment. Zara watched the medical displays with growing amazement. Kira wasn't just a hybrid, she was something entirely new, a perfect synthesis of both species' evolutionary advantages. Your Majesty, Admiral Sector's voice cut through the medical chaos. The purification fleet is fragmenting. 3/4 of our ships refuse to fire on a birthing mother. Admiral Kexvar's extremist position is isolating him even within his own command structure. The tactical display confirmed his words. Only 6 vessels remained in attack formation with Kexvar's flagship, while the rest had moved to neutral positions or actively joined the Coalition's protective barrier. Dr. Chen, if your child survives the birth, where will you go? Neither government can guarantee your safety in their territory. The Coalition offers citizenship to any who need sanctuary, Captain Vasquez interjected. We've got whole communities of mixed families who've found homes in the neutral zone. Sarah's next contraction was stronger than any before, and Dr. Nexus's equipment registered readings that made his tentacles quiver with excitement.
She's crowning.
The child is emerging, and her bio readings are unlike anything I've ever seen. Through the viewport, even the hostile ships seemed to pause their threatening postures as word spread through the fleets that the galaxy's first human-Veltar hybrid was about to be born. Chen, Dr. Nexus encouraged, your daughter is ready to meet the universe. Sarah bore down with every ounce of strength she had left, driven by love and determination that transcended species boundaries. And in the space between heartbeats, between one moment and the next, Kira Chen Velshon entered the galaxy with a cry that somehow seemed to harmonize with frequencies both human ears and Veltar acoustic sensors could appreciate. The silence that followed was profound. Dozens of ships across multiple fleets holding their breath as the medical displays confirmed what everyone could hardly believe. The hybrid child was alive, healthy, and absolutely beautiful. Kira's first cry echoed through the medical bay and beyond, transmitted through open communication channels to every ship in the assembled fleets. The sound carried harmonics that resonated with both human emotional centers and Veltar consciousness frequencies, a voice that spoke to both species simultaneously. Dr. Nexus worked with trembling tentacles to clear the infant's airways and check her vital signs. She's perfect, he whispered in amazement. Absolutely perfect. Zara stared at the tiny being in Dr. Nexus's arms, her 4 eyes widening as she took in Kira's remarkable features. The child had the elongated limbs and joint flexibility of Veltar anatomy, but with human skin tones and facial structure. Most striking were her eyes, large and expressive like human infants, but with the subtle, crystalline quality that marked Veltar neural development. May I? Sarah asked weakly, extending her arms. As Dr. Nexus placed Kira against her mother's chest, the infant's cries softened into what could only be described as a sound of contentment. The baby's tiny fingers, 6 on each hand combining human dexterity with Veltar precision, grasped at Sarah's hospital gown. Hello, beautiful girl, Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. Your daddy would be so proud. The communication channels remained unnaturally quiet, as the reality of Kira's existence settled over both fleets. This wasn't theoretical anymore. This was a living, breathing child who combined the best attributes of both species. Finally, Admiral Hayes broke the silence. Medical readings confirm the child is stable and healthy. Dr. Chen, our offer of protection stands, as does ours, Admiral Sector added, his voice carrying warmth that hadn't been there before. The child represents hope for our species' future, but Admiral Kexvar's response was swift and venomous. That abomination must not be allowed to contaminate others. All ships target the medical bay directly. The tactical display showed his 6 remaining vessels powering their most precise weapons, surgical lasers designed to penetrate shields and eliminate specific targets without destroying the entire ship. Kexvar, stand down, Admiral Sector commanded. I'm assuming fleet command under Article 7 of the Military Code. You're unfit for command. You're a traitor to your own species, Kexvar snarled, but his weapons continued charging. Zara stepped protectively between the medical bed and the viewports, as if her body could shield Sarah and Kira from the vacuum of space. All ships prepare for evasive maneuvers. But before anyone could react, something unprecedented happened. Kira opened her eyes. The infant's gaze was alert and aware in a way that defied every understanding of newborn development. Her crystalline-tinged eyes seemed to focus on the viewport, as if she could sense the threat beyond the hull. And then she reached out, one tiny hand toward the stars. Every ship's sensor array simultaneously registered an energy pulse unlike anything in their databases. Not threatening, but impossibly complex, carrying information patterns that made their most advanced computers struggle to process the data.
"What was that?" Admiral Hayes demanded. "What was?"
Nexus studied his readings with growing astonishment. The child's neural activity spiked beyond measurable parameters. It's as if she's communicating on frequencies we didn't know existed. The energy pulse reached Admiral Kexvar's ships just as their weapons finished charging. But instead of firing, the vessel's systems began behaving strangely. Weapon arrays powered down autonomously, shield generators recalibrated to defensive-only configurations, navigation systems refused targeting solutions that would harm the medical bay. "What did you do to my ships?" Kexvar roared. "Nothing," Zara replied truthfully, staring at Kira with newfound respect. "I think your ships are refusing to fire on a child." Captain Vasquez's voice carried wonder. "Coalition sensors are detecting similar effects across all our vessels. It's like she's speaking directly to our technology, convincing it that violence isn't the answer." Dr. Nexus checked his equipment frantically. "Impossible. No infant should have this level of neural development, this degree of electromagnetic influence." "She's not just any infant," Sarah said softly, holding Kira closer. "She's exactly what her father said she would be. A bridge between worlds." The standoff continued, but now with a surreal quality as Admiral Kexvar's ships found themselves physically unable to carry out his orders to destroy the child. Their own technology had apparently decided that Kira posed no threat worth eliminating. "This is unprecedented," Admiral Hayes muttered, studying the readings his science teams were frantically compiling. "The child appears to be generating a field that promotes cooperation between different technological systems." Admiral Sector leaned forward on his screen. "Dr. Chen, with your permission, I'd like to send a small medical team to conduct a peaceful examination. Not to harm the child, but to understand what we're witnessing." Sarah looked to Zara, who nodded slowly. One physician only.
Unarmed.
And any sign of threat, they're removed immediately. As arrangements were made for the unprecedented examination, Kira settled into peaceful sleep against her mother's chest. The infant's breathing was steady and strong, and her presence seemed to be having a calming effect on everyone in the medical bay. But Zara couldn't shake the feeling that they were witnessing the beginning of something far larger than a single remarkable birth. The child had already demonstrated an ability to influence technology across multiple species systems. What other capabilities might she develop as she grew? And more importantly, how would two governments react when they fully understood that Kira represented not just a hybrid child, but potentially a new stage in galactic evolution? Admiral Sector's chief medical officer, Dr. Yex Nala, arrived aboard Zara's flagship with scientific equipment but no weapons. A gesture of unprecedented trust between former enemies. The elderly Veltar physician approached the medical bay with reverent curiosity, her crystalline eyes reflecting genuine wonder rather than fear. "She's remarkable," Dr. Yex Nala whispered as she studied Kira, who remained peacefully asleep in Sarah's arms. "May I scan her neural patterns?" Sarah nodded cautiously. "Nothing invasive, nothing that might hurt her." The scans revealed readings that left both Dr. Yexnala and Dr. Nexus speechless. Kira's brain activity showed integration patterns that utilized both human creative processing and Veltar logical matrices simultaneously, creating a form of consciousness neither species had imagined possible. "She's thinking in ways that combine emotional intuition with crystalline precision," Dr. Yexnala reported to the assembled fleets. This child could potentially solve problems that have stymied both our species for generations. Admiral Hayes studied the data with growing fascination rather than fear. Dr. Chen, our xenopsychologists are suggesting that your daughter might be capable of true interspecies empathy, understanding both human emotional complexity and Veltar logical frameworks at an instinctive level. What does that mean for her future? Sarah asked, gently stroking Kira's soft hair, which showed subtle, iridescent qualities that caught the medical bay's lighting like captured starlight. Zara approached the biobed, her expression thoughtful. It means she could serve as a translator between our peoples, not just of languages, but of fundamental ways of thinking and being. Admiral Kexavar, who had remained ominously quiet, finally spoke, and it means she's too dangerous to live. A being with that level of influence over both species could manipulate civilizations. Or heal them, Captain Vasquez countered. Look around, Admiral. Her mere presence has already prevented a battle that would have killed thousands. If that's manipulation, maybe we need more of it. Dr. Rodriguez's research vessel had moved closer during the examination, and her voice carried excitement. We're detecting quantum entanglement patterns in the child's neural activity that suggests she might be capable of instantaneous communication across vast distances. The implications for interstellar cooperation are staggering. Kira stirred in Sarah's arms, opening her extraordinary eyes to gaze around the medical bay. When her gaze fell on the communication screens showing the various fleet commanders, something remarkable happened. Each admiral seemed to relax slightly, as if her presence was broadcasting a subtle sense of peace and understanding. The child's electromagnetic field is affecting our stress responses, Dr. Yexnala noted with scientific fascination. She's naturally generating frequencies that promote calm and rational thinking. Admiral Hayes leaned back in his command chair, his expression shifting from hostility to curiosity. Dr. Chen, if your daughter possesses these abilities, she'll need protection and guidance that neither of our governments can provide alone. I've been thinking the same thing. Perhaps the Coalition's offer of sanctuary represents the best option for all concerned. Zara found herself nodding in agreement. The neutral zone has always been a place where different species learn to coexist. Kira could grow up surrounded by diversity rather than the prejudice she'd face in either of our territories. Sarah looked around at the assembled faces, some human, some Veltar, others representing species from across the galaxy. Would she be safe there? Would she be accepted? More than accepted, Captain Vasquez assured her. We've got communities where human Andorian couples raise their children, where Veltar-Zephyrian partnerships are celebrated. Your daughter would be unique, but not alone. Admiral Kexvar made one final attempt to assert his extremist position. This decision affects the genetic future of both major species. You cannot simply, Admiral Sector interrupted firmly, you've been relieved of command. Your extremist views no longer represent the Veltar government. The Purification Fleet hereby offers formal protection to Dr. Chen and her daughter. The tactical display confirmed the shift in power. Admiral Kexvar's remaining ships were being escorted away by larger vessels under Sector's command, their weapons permanently powered down. Admiral Hayes made his own decision. The Human Colonial Authority withdraws all claims on Dr. Chen and her child. We recognize their right to seek sanctuary wherever they choose. As the political tensions dissolved, Kira made a small sound, not quite a cry, not quite a laugh, that seemed to express contentment with the universe she'd entered. Her tiny hand waved toward the viewport, showing the peaceful resolution of the standoff. I think she approves, Sarah said with her first genuine smile since the crisis began. Zara felt something shift in her own understanding of what it meant to rule. This child represented not a threat to be contained, but a future to be nurtured. Dr. Chen, she said formally, as Queen of the Veltar, I hereby grant you and your daughter's citizenship in the Neutral Zone Coalition. You'll have the protection of multiple governments and the freedom to raise Kira among people who celebrate diversity rather than fear it. The decision was met with approval from the coalition ships and grudging acceptance from both major fleets. As the assembled vessels began to disperse, Sarah held her daughter close and whispered, Welcome to the galaxy, Kira. I think you're going to help make it a better place. The infant's crystalline eyes seemed to sparkle with understanding, as if she already knew the important role she would play in bridging the differences between the stars. The convoy that escorted Sarah and Kira to New Haven Station represented the most diverse fleet assembly in recorded galactic history. 47 ships from 16 different species traveled together through hyperspace, their combined presence ensuring that the galaxy's first hybrid child would reach Sanctuary safely. Kira thrived during the journey, her remarkable development continuing to astound the medical teams monitoring her progress. At just 3 days old, she was already demonstrating coordination and awareness that typically took weeks to develop. More remarkably, her presence seemed to have a harmonizing effect on the different species traveling together. Conflicts between crew members have dropped to 0 across the entire convoy, Captain Vasquez reported during a daily briefing. It's as if the child's electromagnetic field is promoting cooperation and understanding. Dr. Nexus had remained aboard Zara's flagship to continue monitoring Kira's development, and his reports grew more fascinating each day. She's learning to recognize different voices and even different languages. Yesterday, she responded to commands given in both standard human and classical Veltar. Sarah spent her time recovering from the birth and marveling at her daughter's rapid progress. Kira's eyes tracked movement with unusual focus, and she seemed particularly interested in the viewports showing the swirling colors of hyperspace. "It's like she knows we're traveling between stars," Sarah observed, holding Kira up to see the cosmic display outside. "She gets excited every time we drop out of hyperspace to check our position." New Haven Station appeared on their sensors as they completed the final jump. A massive complex built into a cluster of asteroids, its organic architecture reflecting the collaborative effort of dozens of species working together. Gardens and habitation domes sprouted from rocky surfaces like flowers blooming in space, connected by graceful transport tubes that spiraled between the asteroids. "It's beautiful," Sarah breathed, watching the station grow larger on the view screen. "It's home," Zara replied, surprising herself with the warmth in her voice. Over the course of the journey, she'd found herself thinking less like a queen and more like a protector of something precious and unprecedented. The station's docking bays were designed to accommodate vessels from across the galaxy, and their convoy was met by crowds of curious residents representing dozens of species. But the reception was warm rather than invasive, with families and children waving welcome banners in multiple languages. Dr. Elena Rodriguez met them at the airlock, her research team having prepared a comprehensive medical facility specifically designed for Kira's unique needs. "We've created an environment that can adapt to both human and Veltar developmental requirements," she explained as they toured the specially designed quarters that would serve as Kira's first home. The nursery featured adjustable lighting that could match either species' preferred spectrum, atmospheric controls that could provide optimal breathing conditions for hybrid physiology, and interactive displays that would stimulate both human creativity and Veltar logical development. "She'll never want for intellectual stimulation," Dr. Rodriguez continued. "We have educators from 17 different species ready to help her explore whatever interests her." But it was the garden that made Sarah smile the brightest. The station's Central Park featured plants from hundreds of worlds, creating a living rainbow of colors and scents that represented the diversity of galactic life. Children of various species played together on equipment designed for different physiologies, their laughter creating a universal language of joy. "This is where she'll grow up," Sarah said, settling onto a bench while Kira gazed up at the artificial sky showing real-time images of the nebula surrounding the station. Surrounded by proof that differences can be beautiful, Zara joined them on the bench, her royal armor looking strangely out of place in the peaceful setting. "What will you tell her about her father when she's old enough to understand?" "That he was a bridge builder like her," Sarah replied softly. "That he believed love was stronger than fear, and that understanding was more valuable than power." As if responding to her mother's words, Kira reached out with both tiny hands, her 6 fingers on each hand grasping at the light filtering through the garden's dome. The gesture was so hopeful, so full of potential, that both women felt their hearts lift. "Your Majesty," Dr. Rodriguez approached with data tablets showing the latest scans. "We've been analyzing Kira's neural development patterns, and we believe she's going to be capable of things we haven't even imagined yet." "Such as?" Zara asked. "True multilingual consciousness, the ability to think in multiple species' thought patterns simultaneously. Enhanced problem solving that combines emotional intuition with pure logic, and possibly," Dr. Rodriguez hesitated, "possibly some form of technological interface that could revolutionize how different species communicate and cooperate." Sarah looked down at her daughter, who was now making soft sounds that seemed to incorporate tonal elements from several different languages. "She's already changing the galaxy, isn't she?" "Just by existing," Zara confirmed, "by proving that our species aren't as different as we thought." The sun was setting through the dome's external viewports, casting New Haven Station in golden light that made the diverse architecture look even more magical. Children were being called home for dinner by parents of various species, their voices creating a symphony of familial love that transcended biological differences. "This is what her father dreamed of," Sarah said, her voice filled with quiet satisfaction. "A place where being different isn't something to fear, but something to celebrate." Kira gurgled happily in her mother's arms, her crystalline eyes reflecting the multicolored lights of her new home. In her gaze, both women could see the promise of a future where bridges would be built instead of walls, where understanding would triumph over prejudice. As the first stars appeared in the real sky beyond the station's dome, Sarah held her daughter close and whispered, "Welcome to your new world, little bridge builder. I think you're going to love it here." The galaxy's first hybrid child had found her sanctuary, and with it, perhaps the key to a future where all species could learn to grow together among the stars.